Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Roommates video. I am Matthew, of course, joined by my wonderful co-host and best friend.
Callum.
Hey man, lovely to see you. So on today's video, we have another mini review of a recent 2020/2021 release, and that is of Promising Young Woman, a film produced by Margot Robbie. Interestingly enough, so I'm gonna pass over to Callum to explain the details about this film, and off to you, man.
Yeah, very different movie from Birds of Prey, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely
Uh,
is. It absolutely is. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like there isn't much to say on this film. Without revealing too much about it. So I would say if you haven't seen the film, and you feel an urge to, I would say go ahead before listening to this review because we'll be talking pretty much full spoilers.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that there's very little known about this film before you go into it, and then when you watch it, it's such an upsetting watch with so many dark themes. I feel like we kind of need to address those, throughout our review. And I feel like talking about like the performances and stuff, prioritizing that in a non-spoiler section would maybe do the rest of the film a disservice.
Yeah.
So if you want to sort of get into the review,
Yeah.
if you wanted to say anything further about the channel or
Yeah. Well,
anything.
just even on the subject of the movie before we hop into spoilers, I think it is, yeah, there's a lot of sensitive topics and themes in this film. So yeah, we'll definitely cover it as respectfully and as effectively as we can. And like we're sort of saying, it is a very different film from like the typical, Margot Robbie production or film. It's very dark in places as well. But yeah, I suppose just full spoilers then, buddy. I'll just I'm happy to go by your remarks and I'll chip in where I can.
Yeah, and to issue a warning that we are discussing themes of sexual assault. So if that's something that
Yeah.
potentially might cause a trigger for anyone, I would suggest you maybe not listen to the
Yeah.
review.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Like
for
I
sure.
feel like this is going to be a fairly solemn review. Where we
Yeah, I
usually
think
try to be a bit
so.
high energy, but I
Yeah.
think if, from talking to you, you just sort of wrapped up watching this film. I felt a bit broken by it by the
Yeah,
end.
it's a brutal movie, man. It honestly is. I think that's really where my notes start from. It's a very uncomfortable watch for the most part. Do you know what I mean? It's just like we were sort of saying, the themes of sexual assault and stuff. It's never easy to watch those sort of themes on screen. But although it's important for that side to be told, as well. But here it is. It's really brutal as well.
Yeah.
It's tough to
It's
watch.
very rare that like a movie can make my skin crawl like
Oh
right from the
yes,
beginning because
yes.
that opening 10 minutes I was watching this with my brother and I was so uncomfortable because that is scarier than any scene in any horror film I've ever seen.
I
Like that
absolutely
was
agree.
that was terrifying. Like I felt physically like
Yeah.
disgusted
Oh,
by the scene,
completely.
and it was so upsetting.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't know about you, but I haven't really heard anybody reviewing this film. I sort of looked it up on YouTube, and there were maybe five or six on the platform that I could see at least,
Hmm.
at least prioritized in the sort of search.
Yeah.
And Bo Burnham, who also stars in this film, has sort of called into question why that is, and he seemed to sort of assert that it's potentially because of the controversial or uh sensitive topics surrounding the
Yeah.
film, and I
Hmm.
I, I think that is definitely a factor that people
Oh yeah,
maybe
for
are
sure.
worried that they can't approach the topic with as much sensitivity as required. But I
Completely.
feel like
Yeah.
I feel like there's also maybe a side to it that some male viewers may sort of misconstrue the message of the film,
Yeah.
because I think if you sort of watch the film and you're looking at the male characters throughout it, I feel like some may misinterpret the portrayal of men and think that this movie is trying to show all men in a negative light. But I think those would be the kind of people that just watch the first act of this film, because in
Yeah.
reality, like Cassie is a woman who intentionally draws out scumbags. So like it tracks that those are a large part of the male presence in the film. I would say by the end of the film, the only admirable male character of note is Cassie's dad, played by Clancy
Yeah.
Brown. He's really the
Yes.
only character that
That's a really smart point.
hasn't proved himself to be morally bankrupt. So as I said, it tracks that is a large part of the male presence in the film, and I think balanced with that, the characters of Madison, played by Alison Brie, Dean Walker, played by Connie Britton. they act as sort of an enlightening commentary on the levels of accountability and complicitness within sexual assault. And
So that's a really smart point.
I think this film is informative, and it makes you think. And I think that that's the best part of this film, that it makes you sort of ask yourself uncomfortable questions, to ensure that events like this can be prevented, or at the very least reported, because we're
Oh
obviously
yeah,
made aware of the
yeah,
character of Madison, that she sort of stood idly by and didn't report something that she knew
yeah.
happened, and Dean Walker sort of helped to brush it under the carpet. So there are multiple levels of complicitness, and you need to make sure that you take people seriously in situations like this.
Yeah, I just want to echo what you said there, buddy. I think you absolutely smashed it there. To be honest with you, I think for me, the theme of sexual assaults in general, it's really important that I think people who watch this film don't forget about it, because it does. I think it is important that it makes you think, and the severity of that situation, as this film suggests. Like as we were sort of saying, it's actually really scary to watch in ways as well. Especially that opening 10 minutes, man. It is brutal as well. And I think you're right. I think certain individuals, certain males would misinterpret this potentially to be, you know, anti-men. I don't think it is anti-men whatsoever.
No, of
I,
course
I
not.
just think I just think maybe the reason why a lot of people might have avoided reviewing it is because, of course, just by the nature of the themes, people might suggest it was controversial, or people just might want to talk about it because it's a sensitive topic and things like that. But I think this movie is a really important one. Just that you don't not think about it after you've watched it. It's really important that it plays in your mind, like the consequences and the severity of these situations. Like it's not a joke whatsoever. And I'm sort of glad that this movie took it seriously. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And there is comedy within the film, but that's completely separated from the themes presented. It's
Yeah, it was a smart move, that I
up
think.
yeah, of course. I mean, there's no comedy in the things that we see
Yeah.
within this film, but the character of Ryan, played by Bo Burnham, does irradiate this natural comedic energy, of course, because he's a career comedian.
Hmm.
And I don't really know why more filmmakers haven't had the forethought to do that, because I feel like you can establish a good career for a comedian by
Oh,
putting them in,
completely.
like big Hollywood productions. And it is pretty much a famous saying that comedians can do drama, but dramatic
Yes.
actors can't
Yeah.
do comedy. And I think
Mhm.
Bo Burnham doesn't really have to tell jokes in this film to generate laughs, which is, you know, I mean, he's a terrible character in the end. And there's a romantic montage played, overplayed with a Paris Hilton track about halfway through the film, that feels very out of place because of how dark the film actually is. But it's
Mhm.
nonetheless sweet, and serves to convince me of the chemistry between the characters, which is, like, of course, by design of the narrative, because it made me like him so much that the revelation that he watched Nina's sexual assault made me question
Oh
my
yeah.
entire
Completely.
faith in humanity, because I'm like,
Completely.
if someone on the surface can seem like such a good moral person, is funny and sweet, and that they have this underlying darkness, it just kind of makes you question, like, the people you associate with.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's a really smart point as well. And I think on the subject of breaking those points down, I think in relation to the point about comedians doing some more serious roles, I think it's a prime example of why I think Bo Burnham did a really good job here. Like it makes me really detest his character by the end. And I also think that it's sort of a similar transition that like Stephen Merchant has went through as well.
Mhm.
Doing more serious roles as well. But I think here, I think that the fact that you said, like what we're sort of saying here, that there's not really one like morally sound character apart from, obviously we're saying like the parents, and Cassie's of course the protagonist throughout the film. But one thing I can appreciate about the film is, like we're sort of saying, everyone's got sort of like dark underbelly where like you don't know what's going on beneath the surface. And it's sort of like the Bo Burnham's character, Ryan, I think he's
Mhm.
called, isn't he? Like it's weird because at the start, I really like him, but then like with that big reveal that he was there whilst Cassius being sexually assaulted, like that's one of the most crushing reveals I can think of in recent memory of films that I've certainly watched. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we talked about the incredibly uncomfortable opening with the character of Jerry, who
Hmm.
attempts to sexually assault Cassie at the beginning of the film. And
Yes.
I was quite disappointed to learn that he only got like roughed up like Christopher Mintz-Plase's character, because the whole time up to that point within the film, I thought that she, murdered the people that she took home, and I thought, if anyone was deserving of it, it was Jerry.
Yeah, was he the one that was Chris from Kick-Ass, or who was he?
He was the one that I'm referencing was the one at the very beginning
Oh
who
yes,
takes
yeah,
her home. But yeah,
yeah.
Chris from Kick-Ass is the one taking cocaine.
Yeah, yeah. I think the opening 10 minutes really sets the tone of the film really, really well. To be honest, and the only thing I would say about the film is, we sort of talked about the beginning and the tone there, but I'll briefly fast forward to the ending.
Yeah,
I'm not sure tonally if it wants us to feel happy or sad, because of course, we've seen that Cassie has scheduled these text messages, and she's got Al arrested during his wedding, and things like that, and it's clear that I'm not sure. Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure if it is clear that the film wants us to feel happy that justice is served to a degree, or
mm,
not. And there's a very weird song that's chosen, that's
yeah,
played over that
Angel of the
scene.
Morning.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it fits at all. What do you reckon? Do you think that's intentional? It's supposed to be it's like intentionally unsettling, or what do you think?
Well, I'd seen that there were multiple articles and videos on YouTube explaining the ending. When for me, I didn't think it was ambiguous. At least, the the ending itself. I don't think the events are ambiguous.
Yeah.
Justice for Nina was clearly presented as what Cassie saw as her life's mission, and therefore she was willing to die to realize it. So I think in that moment we are meant to feel, of course, sad over the death of Cassie, but I suppose glad that justice prevailed even in the horrific
Yeah.
circumstances.
Hmm.
So I think because it's it I don't know, because I think Cassie is obviously presented as a highly intelligent person, so I think she probably realized that there was no way to get him arrested for the crime that he had committed at that time. So
Hmm.
she did have to, she had to create a scenario in which he would, commit a crime that was, indefensible in a court.
Yes.
That she could get him in prison, for a different crime. So I feel like, yeah, a murder was the sentence that she deemed, the amount of time committed to committing a murder was presumably the time in prison which which she thinks was appropriate. So I think
Yeah.
it was her plan realized. So
Yeah,
I
it's a
feel like
smart
we're
point. It's a
meant
really
to
good
be,
point. Yeah.
I feel like it is meant to be a positive moment,
Hmm.
and obviously surrounded by horrific circumstances.
Of course, yeah. That's a really good deconstruction of that, buddy, as well. And on the subject of on the point of the Cassie character, it absolutely blew my mind that Carrie Mulligan, who plays her, one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who is Blink. Have you ever seen that episode of Doctor Who?
Is that an episode with the Weeping
The
Angels?
Weeping Angels, yeah. It's like,
I believe I have.
yeah, that she is the main character in that episode, and like her American accent for a British actress is fantastic. To be honest, it's
Flawless,
incredible.
yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
And you sort of mentioned the sort of dramatic turn that it takes, and that is pretty much how my brother put it. In that it just takes a harsh left. When Cassie gets murdered, and in the moments before her death, I did think that if she died in this moment, I really wouldn't know where this would go. And then when it really happened, and her plan comes together beautifully, like the construction of the narrative, at least from a screenwriting perspective, was really
Flawless,
well
actually.
well constructed.
Yeah, it was. It was really well done. I really didn't expect Cassie's death whatsoever, and I actually think that the movie didn't really get. Sometimes in a movie where you kill off the main character, at the 2/3 point, it could go downhill from there. But the movie was actually kept the quality up even after Cassie's murder. So I was really surprised by that, and obviously by the at the end, I thought it was a really well constructed narrative, like you said.
Yeah. And did you have anything further on the film?
I actually no, I did I have anything else? No, mate, just
Yeah.
some comments, like like the one of the first lines in the movie is when like a guy is derogatively saying like, oh, when Cassie sort of pretending to be drunk. He's like, that's just asking for it. I was like, geez, there are people in this world that think that. Sickening.
Yeah,
Like,
they
obviously,
were
like they did a good
channeling
job
like,
with the
you know,
characters because it makes me feel
yeah,
angry
they
about
were
them. But
channeling like, what is the like, what's the
worst
worst thing
thing,
a person
yeah,
could possibly say, and
yeah,
it was apt for those characters as we see later on.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
I don't feel it's appropriate to rate this film because I
Yes,
think
I agree.
we've made our thoughts on the film quite clear. And there may have been a little bit of waffle there because we're trying to be as composed as possible after being
Yes,
quite rattled
100%,
by the narrative. And I
100%. Yeah.
think that the themes are so dark and upsetting that this film cannot be said is enjoyable.
No, not at
But
all.
there's nothing to criticize in this film because the script, performances, and direction are all superb. But it's just a deeply upsetting
No, it
narrative.
is. It absolutely is. I actually had the same point in my notes, buddy. Like, it is impossible for me to rate. Usually sometimes for a film we do quality and enjoyment. I think even in like that quality and enjoyment, it's really hard to rate because of, like we were
Yeah,
saying, the themes it explores, the sensitive topics. I just think, as for the quality of the film, like filmmaking wise, how well it's shot, the script, of course, it's phenomenal. So
hmm
but yeah, it's do you have any more further remarks, buddy, to conclude?
no, nothing for me. I just think that this is the darkest thing we've ever talked about. Like
Yeah,
it was
it
not the film I
is.
was going into expecting because I had sort of seen that it was it was referenced as like a dark comedy.
Hmm.
So I thought it would
Yes, it
maybe
was.
and all the details I knew was the description, which was Cassie leads a double life as things from her past haunt her.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be maybe like quirky but kind of uplifting happy sadness of
Yes.
either like Ryan Gosling's Lars and the Real Girl or like Ryan Reynolds in The Voices. I thought it was going to be something of that tone. And the themes explored here are just so much
Horrific.
darker than I expected,
Yeah.
and it was not the film I expected, and
Yeah.
it was an awful kick in the teeth, but incredibly enlightening. So it is incredibly well constructed, but oh, I don't know. I just
Yeah.
felt breathless
I
after it. It was
yeah.
it was horrendous.
You've took the words right out of my mouth there, to be honest, Callum. I just want to echo what you said as well. And I think it's a one of a kind review for us on the channel anyway. I think it's sort of impossible to sort of put this in like a theme related playlist because it wouldn't really be appropriate to call this a romance even. Do you know what I mean? Of course it wouldn't be. Do you know what I mean? It's not really that kind of film
Yeah.
whatsoever. So I think it's a difficult one really to review as well. But hopefully you guys sort of enjoyed our commentary of the film. Maybe like found our views interesting. Maybe enjoys, but maybe not the right word for this type of film.
Yeah, I would
But
say
yeah,
that this is the least review we've ever done because
yeah, it is. It is.
we've barely talked about like the what we would normally talk about is the cast, the quality of the comedy, quality of the performances, but here we're really just talking about the context of the themes, which is not something that we normally explore, and so something that I'm sad we have to because it's obviously so it's something that we're talking about that should never happen in the world.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's a topic that no one wants to do, but I feel if you want to appropriately discuss this film, you have to.
Completely.
Which I don't know why people, because of the few reviews that I had seen conducted of this, they were 5 minutes long. I really don't know how you get this across in 5 minutes. Like I'm sure there were bits of waffle here and there, with what I was saying, but I don't know how you can convey such a
Yeah.
opinions on, well, not opinions, but
Yeah.
as you said, a commentary on such complex views
Yeah. I
and
know.
themes, in that short of a time space.
Yeah, I know. It's a one of a kind review, I think, for us on the channel. But yeah, hope you guys find this an interesting one, and yeah, stay tuned on the channel as well. We're doing a lot of podcasts as well, and mini reviews, as well as keeping up to date with One Division and Riverdale. So yeah, hope you guys are all safe and well. Hope your family and friends are all safe and well, guys. Take care and bye bye.
Bye bye.